let's talk about AI whitewashing.
Oh, yeah. This drives me nuts. Everyone's an artificial intelligence expert. Right? So like everyone has done AI since the dawn of time, which is driving me nuts.
Right.
And there's AI. So we're going to talk about it in a couple different regards.
Okay.
AI whitewashing of individuals, right? Sure. Your failed sales and marketing person who is an account manager at a mid-sized firm has now solely dedicated their entire life and being into being an artificial intelligence expert. They run a podcast, they run a newsletter, they wrote a book, they wrote 3 books on AI.
Wow.
We're probably all AI written. But they've whitewashed themselves into artificial intelligence. And maybe before that they were in a different area, and before that they were in a different area. But because of the continuous nature of AI being at the top of the hype cycle, everyone wants a little piece of the pie. AI whitewashing of products, and services and solutions. Every major company underneath the sun, it does not matter if they are a camera company, it doesn't matter if they're a robotics company, it doesn't matter if they're a CRM, a messaging app, whatever.
Right.
Everyone's got AI now. You know we have AI. We have AI. Right. This is how we're using it.
By the way, we're an AI podcast.
Yeah, by the way, I'm full AI. Right? Like everyone is AI. And again, same thing. Market share capture, retaining people, showing people that you're on the head of the curve, making sure that people are aware and understand that there is movement forward when it comes to the product or solution that you're already paying for, et cetera, right? People are starting to realize that AI is a actual real thing, and we're seeing a reduction of workforces across a lot of different organizations when it comes to staff, personnel, human capital, because AI can replace.
Right.
Yeah.
You see. Right.
Yeah.
You see that, which in some regards is kind of scary for people who either don't have the know-how or essentially the energy to want to educate themselves in this market. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. One thing, I'm sure my security people that are watching this, how secure is all this AI and how it's inundating in our life and knowing us so personally?
Yeah. The short answer is that it's kind of secure for the most part.
Right. Kinda.
Like it's pretty secure. The easy way of explaining it is like we have this concept of like the scariest thing that could happen in a cybersecurity situation. You have this man in the middle attack, right? I'm a user, you're the end computer system, and between my voice getting to your ears, the data transfer, there's someone in the middle that's changing, altering, or siphoning off some of that data. That's the worst case scenario. When we think about agentic AI, where there's many agents accessing many different data systems and also communicating with each other, or we have many AI systems across many different tools, whether it's our cell phone or our home, smart home devices, our smart home in general, our car because it's a Tesla, or the Escalade new electronic vehicle that came out or whatever it is, and then our work systems. There's a lot more data transfer. That means there's a lot more potential exposure when it comes to people getting in between or siphoning off data. So with the right parameters, with the right way of getting things set up, you can make sure you are safe. But as it stands, there's definitely more attack vectors when it comes to artificial intelligence than when it came to pencil and paper. Right. Because, if I wanted to give you information, I wrote it on a piece of paper and handed it to you, and we were good to go. Right. But once you go into like ones and zeros, you get a lot of threat actors that are potentially trying to impact things. So there's some security concerns overall. We can stay away from the nitty gritty of it, but there are things that you can do to protect yourself, but something you have to be aware of.
Right, absolutely. Let's talk about BCI.
Okay.
What do you know about BCI, and what are your thoughts about it?
I would love to hear you tell me what BCI means to you and your audience.
Great.
Before I go on a rant.
So from what I know, which I'm an enthusiast, I'm not an expert. I'm going to make sure I say that all the time, so I'm not whitewashing anything. But no, BCI, brain computer interfaces. I had a neurosurgeon here just a few months ago talking about how he was in school. I think it was at Brown University when they were first putting, not necessarily that particular, the one we have now, which is Bluetooth, but it was a cable connected. And, as I understand it, it was initially designed for people with just different neurological disorders, and they designed this this technology to help with that. Where we're at with Neuralink, how it is Bluetooth, and they do have 1 or 2 patients now. I know they have one patient that he was navigating the website with his eyes. If I'm not mistaken. What I know is that on the surface, it's supposed to be a positive thing. It's supposed to help people that are in need. But me on the security background, I can see a lot of issues with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when you talk about Bluetooth.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I ask about BCI because some people have varying degrees of what they consider BCI, right? So that brain-computer interface. Is like, this is like a question for you, not you specifically, but audience overall. If I use my eyes to control something, is that brain-computer interface? And it's like, well, yes, maybe no. Be like, no, it's just like, it's a different level of facial recognition. It's like, okay, well then when you look away from your Tesla on auto drive mode, right? It is or isn't brain-computer interface. When you look away at I think it's called attention mode on iPhone to use your Face ID, is that brain-computer interface or not? So like there's this kind of a wide swath there. And then it's like, well, no, none of that's brain-computer interface. It's just Neuralink, right? Like, or it's just having a chip implanted into your brain.
Right.
Cool, great. Mm-hmm. That spectrum exists in a lot of different areas, but that spectrum of understanding it is pretty wide. This technology, I think, is revolutionary, and we're just at the kind of first inclinations of what it can be done, right? We saw, Neuralink come out, and I saw the video of someone playing like video games using their Neuralink. I think it was a father who was playing like Mario Kart with his kids, right? And I was like, and he's clearly paralyzed. He can't work. He can't move. He definitely can't speak. And it was an awesome thing to see, right? Like that general vein and that general momentum is really, really interesting. That won't be the only application of the technology though, right? So like we hope that it goes purely medical and purely in the research area and then becomes substantial and viable enough for mass market adoption when it comes to various neurological disorders to give people this kind of new way of experiencing life that they may not have ever felt before. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I love that idea. It scares me though that we could potentially shift that over to non-medical use cases, and I can have my, my brain chip implant in my head, and, I can get stock trading tips. I can get the latest podcasts. I can get the latest information. I can get it digested and debriefed by the artificial intelligence that I've custom created over the last 7 years that I've been using. So I just get the information I want. Does that become an echo chamber effect, right? That's directly tied to the internet. And then how does my brain chip connect to all this information? Right. Where does it connect to? Where is it getting the information? And then is it a subscription service?
You know it.
Right.
Right. You know it.
And how much are you willing to pay? Technology aspect of this where things can go awry very, very quickly. And I think it's an interesting, kind of concept of brain chip interfaces and implants and what that can be like. Do I see the world in purely rose-colored glasses and I'm never depressed ever because of how the wires are hooked up into my brain, and I'm always happy-go-lucky and I'm having the best experience and the best life ever? Is that the best life ever if I don't know what the worst moments are? Right? The highs of life feel really high, especially when you look at the lows of life.
Sure. Yeah.
They feel even higher most of the time. Right?
Absolutely.
But if you never have that, what does that mean? So there's a lot of different things that can kind of play out in that space, and being forward thinking. I think that artificial intelligence will play a way into that space. Hopefully, it's for good in this medical practice and medical focused area. I think gets a little bit sketchier when we look at some of the stuff related to just body modification, for lack of a better term, and what that means as far as technology goes and implementations go.
And you think our biggest concern would, for example, worrying about, are we going to have a bunch of mini cyborg children running around when they're growing up, and it's going to be a natural thing? Oh, well, you need these vaccinations and you need the chip.
Yeah. I think so. I love this term cyborg because My guess is that 95% of the people that listen to this podcast have their cell phone in their hand or within arm's reach. So like, you're already a cyborg.
Right.
You already carry around something that you have every single day that has infinite amounts of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Real-time updates, real-time weather predictions, all the information. You want to get on a plane? Boarding pass? Right. Real ID? Right. Cool. Like, right? Like, we're already there. It's just the technology goes from being external to internal. And that's what sketches a lot of people out, which totally makes sense, right? And to kind of like piggyback on the brain-computer interface stuff, Apple just released their brain-computer interface for the Apple Vision Pro device as well, which has some eye recognitions and controlling and that type of stuff too. So there is a general movement. I don't know how I feel about the mending of human and machine so that the machine becomes internal, but then who am I to say that when we have artificial pacemakers and insulin pumps and the like that are saving people's lives? So it's a hard line to draw in the sand. It is.
Like you mentioned, we have our cell phones with us. Most of us have it all the time wherever we go. And then we're under the false pretense that, well, if we shut it off, it's no more collecting data. It's not listening. But there's so many third-party apps, so much software going on in the background on our phones and our other devices that are doing that. It is collecting information. Right?
Yeah.
So
listen,
you can't get away from it.
Your digital footprint, barring you just not having a smart, well, there's two options, right? Here's how you reduce your digital footprint. One, you give up all the convenience that you've ever had with a smartphone, which no one does, because it's like, what are you talking about? Like, no, I need the GPS to get to Publix. Like, okay, fair.
I'm laughing because I had a bed about 3 years ago and I tried it. I tried it for 1 month. It was impossible.
Yeah.
It was impossible. I tried the flip phone. I tried to like minimize anything I could.
Yeah.
But it's inundated in our world, in our life. You can't. You cannot not use technology.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible to get away from it. But if you really, really did, you go to a flip phone or you go to like a brick phone or one of those phones that has a removable battery. You have to do T9 texting, right? We'll joke. We know what that is. You guys don't know what T9 texting is.
You know what pagers are, beepers?
Right? You know what phone bank is? No. So like you go to T9 texting. You call people a lot, right? Like when I came to the studio today, right? I sent you a text message and then it was just like on my phone, and I got a phone call. I was like,
why is this guy calling?
Who's calling me? But I think that's the big part of it. So all right, so you've completely removed yourself from the digital world and that you carry around, but then you still have a laptop, you still have a desktop, you still have all the routes and information related to that as well. So like, you kind of have to give up all of those things. You got to give up your cell phone, got to give up your laptop, you got to give up your desktop to a degree. You got to go to public Wi-Fi only or the library to check emails, or you go to work to do work, and then you kind of disconnect. And there are people that do it. Like, don't get me wrong, but that's really the only way. You got to give up a lot of convenience. That's very, very comfortable for us right now.
Did a talk a couple months ago about just basically cybersecurity foundation, fundamentals for students, things to look out for. The 101, password management and being safe online, this and that. But I did get a lot of questions about, okay, you hear about AI and all these wonderful technologies coming out, and right now I'm in school for business or I'm in school for whatever the degree is. Yeah. How is that going to play a role, and what should I really be focusing on? Should I be a prompt engineer? Like, what do I really need to be focusing on, in your opinion?
Yeah, this is good. This is a great question. I ask this a lot. So every profession is going to be impacted by artificial intelligence. Every profession, non-technical or technical, is going to use artificial intelligence tools. Very few people are going to be building the artificial intelligences. Okay? Same thing like development. There's tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, if not trillions of websites out there. There are not trillions of developers. Okay? Now we take that same thing, extrapolate it down. There's 10 major companies that are making large language model artificial intelligences, and they have very strong data scientists and data analytics teams and development teams that are working on those. But like we just said, Microsoft's laying off 7% of its internal staff already. Predominant amount of those staff are developers because they have AI coding tools now. So there's a maximum workforce efficiency there. So when I do talk to students that are in school, university, et cetera, I'm like, hey, one, get comfortable with artificial intelligence. Two, get comfortable with critical thinking alongside artificial intelligence. Okay. So like getting used to artificial intelligence is, you know how artificial intelligence works. You know, trust and verify, you know how to do some prompting, you know how to communicate with it, you know how to get information out, you know how to extract information, know how to work alongside AI. Is like, how do I get AI to do a thing to make my time because my time is very, very valuable. I'll get AI to do the thing that I don't want to do. Great. And now I maintain doing the things that I want / need human support. So that's how you go from, okay, I understand this. Now I can be like realistically an advocate for this technology because I work alongside of it. And then you transition to, I can give these tasks to artificial intelligence. They will do them. And then I can just check to make sure that they're getting done the right way. That's like kind of your progression. So of how working together will work. So what should you focus on? Well, if you're in the art world, you should understand what AI is really good at in the art world. You should go look at Flow. You should look at Midjourney. You should go look at ChatGPT image generation tooling. You should go look at those things. You can be frustrated that they use copyright information. You can be upset that they can generate any style. But that doesn't mean the technology is going to go away. So, okay, I understand it. I work alongside it. Then I delegate to it. That's for art. That's for business. That's for history. That's for linguistics. That's for teachers. That's for anyone. Any one of those areas, that's really, really what you should be doing. If someone came to me and is like, I want to work in AI, then it's, you really need to go into like data science, data analytics, right? You should be looking at advanced mathematics and that type of area. If you're like, no, I want to create artificial intelligence. But for the most part, business, economics, right? Architecture, design, etc., medical, you're going to be working alongside AI. So just start getting comfortable with the tooling.
You've been in a lot of meetings, I'm sure. You've been in front of a lot of people. You've heard a lot of conversations. I'm saying that to preface what I'm going to ask you. What keeps you up at night?
Oh, okay. The biggest things that keep me up at night are related to deepfake technology and how easy artificial intelligence can be a force multiplier for a bad actor. Because of the low level of technical skills that are required, artificial intelligence is a force multiplier for someone who wants to do bad things. It does not matter what those bad things are. It doesn't matter if they want to harm people or they want to sow discontent on social media. The tools that can be used are not only similar, but they are also very easy to set up and easy to run. So the stuff that concerns me the most is in that world of, I can dupe, fake who I am, my visuals, my voice, my background, gain access to systems and do nefarious activities on the corporate side. If it's, the public interest side, I can plan, attacks. I can plan how I'm going to hurt people. I can self-radicalize myself with artificial intelligence or these different tools to get myself enough gumption, right, and intestinal fortitude to actually go carry out one of these acts. And then, if I'm really looking to sow seeds of discontent on, others or influence others via propaganda, that path is extremely easy with social media now and AI generated content. So that's what keeps me up. But what really is at the heart of those is humans' willingness to trust things and the like the social media stuff, your doom scrolling aspect of things, you're getting influenced all the time, right? It's radicalizing you whether you like it or not. It just might be radicalizing you to buy slime for your kids, right? Not do something bad, right? And then if I'm looking at it from the hiring manager side, right? Like, I need to get someone in here. They got to help me out. Oh, I just had this really great conversation with this person. Yeah, their resume is awesome. Perfect. Let me just hire them. Well, no, they're actually a North Korean hacker, right? Like crap. And then this kind of self trust that your ideas are the best ideas and living in an echo chamber that can multiply itself drastically. I'm going to ask this artificial intelligence to act this way because I want it to reinforce my own thoughts, ideas, and opinions. Well, now I don't need external malign influence, right? I can just do it myself. So I think that those are the things that really, really keep me up and are worrisome. And that can affect every single tier of our society. Whether it's the elderly and then getting scammed out or buying more Bitcoin or, gift cards, the youth and being radicalized to a specific cause and carrying out violence, or corporate side and giving up IP patents and secrets to nation state actors because they had given access, or our own personal life where, we have an idea and, Rolling Stone or The Verge or one of these major publications just did a post about, did a great article about people that are going into psychosis because they only talk to artificial intelligence. All those are really, really scary. And all of them are happening today. Like, these are not in 20 years, in 5 years, in 7 years, in 2 years. These are things that are happening now. So they're only going to multiply as we kind of move forward.
What is your opinion about cryptocurrency?
I love the concept of cryptocurrency. I like the idea of non-fungible tokens and them being immutable on a blockchain where they can be verified. I think that they are an easy threat vector for bad people to do bad things. I think we just had like 20 million user accounts for Coinbase, I think, right?
Coinbase.
Yeah, just got hacked. And I think that was an insider threat situation as well. So like someone inside the company was like leaking information externally. So the technology in and of itself is a great idea. But technology and security, right? The weakest element always is the human.
Right.
It's not the tech. Right. So I think that there's a lot of benefits there. But I think the number one hurdle still in the ever-present mind is if I use a credit card, it is near instantaneous debt collection and credit response. Getting over that hump of like embedded crypto fee that someone like you have one when you think about it with credit cards, but you don't think about it ever. It doesn't come up as a line item.
Right.
But like that burning fee, right? That embedding fee, that tokenization fee, et cetera, that happens in cryptocurrency, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
That being a line item, like it just dissuades some people. So like I think that there's like a little bit of like public perception that happens, and a little bit of like pervasiveness into the market. But I think it's overall it's a good piece of technology. I think it's fantastic usage is in the logistics side of things when it comes to blockchain overall.
Right. You mentioned about the human tendency, like that you when you narrow down, when you look at organizations and security at large, it always comes down to the human aspect, the human error. So when you come to organizations and you give your talks, do you bring up that? And you touch on that?
Yeah, I talk about change management a lot. I talk about how technology, you basically have a spectrum of people and how they adopt technology. You have the cheerleaders, the choo-choo rah-rah, right? They are all for, all go, all gas, no brakes. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is like, absolutely not, no way. Give me a pen and piece of paper. Right. Right, like that. And everyone falls somewhere in between, right? The only way you get people out of the extremes and closer to the center is through two things. One, being very realistic on educating your audience is, right? The reason they're at the extremes is because they probably read the headline of the article and nothing more.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So how do I get them to being like what I would call like a central realist, right?
Okay.
Like there's good, there's bad.
Right.
I should adopt, I shouldn't, right? They're going to sit like somewhere in the center or like 30%, 30 degrees on either side. Hyper education, level the playing field, make sure that the people who are naysayers feel like they understand the technology, they're aligned to the realistic nature of it. That's number one. Number two for an organization is being hyper transparent on what your plans with AI are.
That's a good
Okay.
one. Yeah.
How do we get people from the naysayer side to center? I'm not going to replace your job with artificial intelligence. I just want to make your employee satisfaction score from a 2 out of 5 to a 3.5 out of 5. And I want to do it with AI because I can take away the parts of the job that you don't like. Well, I don't like it. I love my job.
Right.
No, you don't. Like
Right.
no one loves every part of their job, right? Mine is, and self-admittance, mine's like time cards and like Excel sheets and like that stuff. Like I can't, it's just like my brain doesn't work like that. I don't like it. It's so right. Hyper realism and transparency. That gets the naysayers up. Same thing on the other side, right? Like I think that it'll reel them back in. If I do those two things right, then I can actually start talking about how we're going to use AI versus I'm just going to give them a tool and be like, use this now. And you're going to go, no. Or why?
Right.
Or this isn't the tool I want, right? So I think you got to do those two things first, and that's really where I come into organizations is I provide that educational layer and the transparency layer, but that really comes with, okay, I got to educate the C-suite, got to get them on board, got to make sure that they have the right plan moving forward, make sure they're able to communicate governance policy standards, use acceptance criteria, use cases for artificial intelligence, and then bringing that in and getting your individual contributors and your C-suite and your executives and everyone on the same page about what the technology is, and then building out that transparency plan below it. I think that's how you get to where you want to be going. All too often, people just are like, "Here's the tool," and you need the techniques, you need the teams, and you need the tools, and that's something PeakActivity always advocates for. Is you can just bring in the tool, but if you don't have the right techniques and the right teams, you're done. You can bring in the right teams, but if they don't have the right tools and the right techniques, you're done. You should start with techniques because techniques unlocks the right teams that will then make the right selection on tools. And that's really the kind of step and precedence that we set and move forward with, and something that I advocate for every time I'm with a company.
You mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, it was 7 years ago or so that you met your future boss, right?
Yeah.
Was that right? So, but before then, what did you do, or what would you recommend people to do for people to seek out you, right? Because
Okay.
like all the information, obviously this podcast is going to prove to people who may not know you that this guy's a very good speaker. He's educated in this area.
Yeah.
But how do people find you?
When I moved over to PeakActivity, I told my CEO, I was like, listen, I'm going to ask a lot of questions and I'm going to push a lot of boundaries. So I always call myself, I always say I'm a habitual line stepper, right? like you have a line, like, is that line, is it in sand?
Right.
Or is it like painted on the ground? Like how much stepping does this line to get rid of this line? So the way that I kind of moved into being, a more public figure or public speaker, I just put my nose to the grindstone and was like, I need to have a bunch of projects that I've worked on, and I need to convince people to trust me through the work that I've done and my book of business and my projects that I've run. That's really how it started. And how it moved from that was, okay, I have the projects. Now I want to tell people locally in my small sphere, like, hey, look at these things that I did. And then I just took that small sphere and like, okay, well, these people locally I advocated internally, and the people at PeakActivity are like, oh, that's really cool. That's so exciting. Like got people like in augmented reality headsets and virtual reality headsets, and like got them really excited about that stuff. And then started having them play with AI. And then, now I got, people and they're like, oh man, I use AI all the time. I've taken those naysayers and super cheerleaders and got them into realistic. Like, I did it internally. Right. Okay, well, now I got these people internally. It's like, okay, well, what's the ring outside of that? It's like, all right, well, like I can go to these community events. I can go to these tech events. I can go and work with like Tech Hub South Florida or Emerge or these. So I started getting into that pervasive network and being like, hey, like I'll talk to you about anything. You want to talk about like, look at all this stuff I know. This is so cool. And then it went from that to, hey, Rob, didn't you do something related to this technology? Could you come talk about it? Someone asked about it. Of course. Yeah, absolutely. So I think it really grows like that, where it's like, I wanted irrefutable proof that I know what I'm doing, and then take that and talk about it with a smaller group, talk about it with a little bit larger group, a little bit larger group, a little bit larger. And then I've been to like Mexico and Guatemala City and Montreal and Canada and going over to the UK later this year to like go and talk about and present about these ideas. People wind up knowing you, right? Like I didn't go the traditional route and like buy a bunch of Instagram followers. Like I have less than 100 Instagram followers, right?
I'm organic. You look at mine, like a couple hundred.
I don't even have that many, right? Like on LinkedIn, yeah, because that's where my core audience is.
Right.
10,000 plus in there, fantastic. I had like nice little newsletter bubble. But that sphere of influence grows. And I think what winds up powering that sphere of influence is that I have this raging imposter syndrome. Like I have this raging thing that everyone's going to look at me and be like, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
With all the work that I've done. Yeah. With all the verification that I've done, like with the Bureau and all this other stuff and having these projects and working with these massive international companies across the board, energy companies, the biggest retailers that you can imagine that are in malls. I've worked with, food, alcohol and beverage, cruise, hospitality and real estate. Like I've worked with some of the largest brands. I still have raging imposter syndrome. I still go, yeah, but someone's gonna look at me and go, this guy's a fraud. What? And I think that is the literal internal driver that I have that makes me constantly want to be on top of something and constantly want to be knowing what's going on so that I can go and advocate for the technology and those messages and ideas. And it helps fuel my passion and my drivers. So I think it's referencing that as in a jokey way, but I think that it's a part of that is like, no, I believe the technology and I believe humans' interaction with technology should be foundationally different than how it is or how it has been. So the only thing I can do is advocate for the proper usage of the technology. So I think that's a big part of it.
Thank you for being so honest.
Yeah, of course.
that makes a lot of sense, though. So then you're constantly, in a way, second-guessing yourself to motivate you to constantly do more research and finding out what's new with the technologies and keep your head to the ground or ears to the ground. Well, that's amazing. Well, we're over an hour and 15 minutes. I didn't know we were doing this. It was a seamless conversation.
Yeah, it was great.
I feel like it. Well, before we wrap things up, I always ask my guests if you can leave our audience, which I mentioned, which is professionals, family, students, you name it, if you can leave them with a good message.
If you said, Rob, what do we leave behind? Technology, artificial intelligence, spatial computing, any new and emergent tech, it's not good or bad. The technology is the technology. How it gets applied is the big aspect of things. That's what makes it good or bad. The way that we win with technology is by having more people use it for good than more people use it for bad. That gives us meaningful ethics when it comes to technology, meaningful implementations, a life that we want to live as humans. If we just let bad, nefarious, undermining, lying individuals drive the technology forward, we will have some of those doomsday scenarios that we talked about. So be an agent for change and be an agent for change for good when it comes to technology, and the mass consciousness of good applying that tech is what winds up allowing us to be successful and living the life that we want to live.
Right, because at the end of the day, we want to have peace, be happy, and help each other out, right, to move forward. Well, I do appreciate your time. How can people find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, easy way of finding me. If not on LinkedIn, just hit up my website, robertpetrosino.com. You'll be able to get in touch with me on there.
Well, there you go, everybody. This was the Cyber Health Podcast. I'm Stephen Proner, your host. We're here with Rob Petrosino. We hope to see you in the next episode. Thanks so much, Rob.
Thank you.